This boy and girl are going to be well equipped when the time comes to take their places as worthy members of adult society.
Aloha, y'all. This is Daniel Eisenman, the host of the Breaking Normal podcast, where my guests are all invited based on the frequency of synchronicity, all done in person, and all trailblazers in the breaking of all things normal.
All right. That's Ashish Kothari? How do you say
Ashish Kothari.
Kothari. The CEO of Happiness Squad?
Yep.
And probably much more. I'm excited to learn about what that much more and the Happiness Squad is. I will say we crossed paths a few times because you work with the Let's Do Podcast studio as well. And the other night, I think we were hanging out with some of the guys from Transcriptions. I'm not sure if you know those guys. There was a conference for this methylene blue company that had a few of the executives have been on the show.
Yeah.
And we were walking out of Avanti.
Yep.
And we ran into you and your wife.
Yes.
And I told you, Abel, afterwards, I was like, man, that guy, he just looks like he can't even hold his smile back. And he's like, well, that's funny because he does the Happiness Squad. I was like, wow. Well, he's walking the talk. Why do I see you that way? That it looks like you can't hold your smile back. Is that practice has always been that way?
No, it hasn't always been that way. In general, I was always a glass half full person, right? I've always seen the silver lining in a cloud, right? Dark cloud, I always see the silver lining. But over the last 10 years, as I've kind of really leaned into this work and practiced it and done, experiences like the Vipassana meditation itself, where you don't just learn about practices, but they become embodied.
Mm-hmm.
What shifted for me, Daniel, is I literally say the side effect of this job, of the work I do every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
The side effect is you make your own weather.
Mm.
You become impervious to what's happening outside. So oftentimes people ask me, how's your day? And I say, it's amazing. It's awesome. And they're like, it can't every day be amazing. And I say, it is. He says, what do you mean? How can you be amazing every day? I'm like, I'm not saying that what's happening outside or what's happening to the business or what's happening to life is amazing. But that's how I experience it. Because what I experience is based on what I'm projecting. I don't control what's happening out there, so I don't let my response be affected by what's out there. And that gives me more agency, it gives me more autonomy, it gives me more of a grounded place from which to navigate whatever the universe is deciding to serve me that day.
I resonate with that deeply. By the way, there's a few breaking normal things happening. He's farther from the mic than I've ever seen. Is that cool on your end?
You want me to be close?
No. I like it.
Okay.
I don't know why I stand. You made me start wondering why am I so close to this thing? But I guess I can adjust it. Anyway. And then I've said the same thing, and I've never heard that from anyone about making your own weather. I don't think I have. But I do a breath practice pretty consistently, and when people ask me about it, I sort of sometimes joke that this is how I make my own weather this way.
Yeah. So for me, it's a breath, I meditate every day, but I also gratitude, like these 9 practices that I wrote about in my book, which very much became a part of my repertoire. I was 2 on 9. So 9 practices, if you rated yourself from 0 to 1 on, is it embodied? Do you practice sometime? Maybe you give yourself 0.5 or you never practice them at all, 0.
Okay.
My average was probably 2.
On the 9?
2 on 9 average, okay, right? Which means there was one practice which I gave myself a 1 on, which is on relationships. I've always had a strong foundation of relationships, friends, family, colleagues. Everything else was like a 0.1, 0.2, 0.4. So when you aggregated everything up, it was at a 2 or 2.5.
Okay.
Today, I'm like at a 7.5. I have a couple of growth edges in some of the practices where I'm still very early. But on average, it's gone. But as a result of that, the brain, right, which is how we experience the world, right? And then we see the world as we are, not as the world is.
Mm-hmm.
What she's talking about is we see everything through the projection of our beliefs. beliefs of what's right, what's wrong, what's happening, what will happen. Everything is a projection from that belief system. So we see the world as we are right now in that belief. What has happened is, over that period of time, my neural pathways from these practices have shifted. I don't anymore see the world from a place of scarcity and what's not here. I'm always grounded in how much we have. I don't experience work as something to put up with, to live life. My work is what gives me meaning, right? My mind, through my meditation and mindfulness practices, most of the time, I am not fighting what I don't want, aversion, or craving what I want, but I can meet the world from a place of equanimity, right? These practices, because our brain changes, our way of experiencing the world changes, it's not something I have to do, it's what you become. And that's really my hope, right, for all the work that we do with clients, etc., is I'm able to get people to that place. People say, so do you teach me to be happy all the time? And I say, no, I can't teach you how to be happy all the time. Because first of all, if you're talking about happy all the time, what they're really talking about is, can I experience the emotion of happiness all the time? Or can I be peaceful all the time? Emotions are temporary, right? We go through multiple emotions at the same time all the time. But I tell them, no, I can't make you happy all the time. But you know what I can help you with? I can teach you how to suffer well. Life has suffering. That suffering should not affect how you experience the world. So I can help you be joyful. I can give you that foundation of joyfulness through which to suffer well, to which to find that suffering and turning into something of meaning. Right? That's the magic of the work. So when you ask me, that's just how I have become. Earlier, I had to practice when faced something to consciously get rid of that heaviness, but not today.
You mentioned the book. What's the name of the book?
It's called Hardwired for Happiness.
Hardwired for Happiness. And is that out?
Yeah, it came. We launched it. I launched it in 22.
Okay.
October 22 is when it came out.
Is it on Audible?
It is not on Audible. It is on. It's paperback. I have not recorded it because the whole thing was I haven't had time to record, and I didn't want somebody to just.
Yeah, well, it sounds like maybe you could do it here even.
Record it for me. Yeah, no, I will. That's something that needs to be done, but we haven't done it yet.
And then Happiness Squad, Hardwired for Happiness. What's the connection?
The connection? Yeah. So look, I mean, I wrote the book in 2022. I started at the end of 2020, so it took me about a year to write it. And then another 6-8 months for the whole, publishing process. And I wrote the book because my journey, I hadn't intended to write the book, right? So my journey into this whole field of flourishing and happiness was actually accidental. My entry point into this I was not looking for happiness at all, right? What I was looking for was a way to dig myself out of a hole that I dug for myself where I was waking up every morning with anxiety. Waking up every morning with anxiety without having anything externally that was making me anxious. So think about, in Matthew McConaughey's terms, he'll call it green lights. I had green lights in every area of my life. Career, money, family, impact, where we were living. I mean, everything was green lights. Everything was going great. And there was nothing in the horizon that was actually affecting that, oh, yeah, now it's great, but it's not going to be so great later. And I'm waking up with anxiety. So the journey that I took over the next 6 years, that changed completely my life was a journey towards what makes us anxious, what keeps us afraid, and why, despite having so much, people who are doing really well professionally often are struggling. All of these millionaires, billionaires, partners, senior vice president, I mean, you can look at all of those people, completely curated, perfect external lives. Every one of them struggling internally. That's what I found. Maybe every one of them is an extreme statement, but at least 70, 80% of them are nowhere experiencing joy, peace, or even enjoying the wealth that they have. That's the journey that I was on for 6 years. So the book I wrote at the end of COVID because my core insight from all the research, 450 different books, doing courses with mystics, neuroscientists, psychologists, I had come to the conclusion that the reason all of these people are struggling is because of a fundamental property of our brains, of our mind. So our brains evolved, Daniel, over millions of years to keep us safe, not to keep us happy, right? Neuroscientists agree on it. Psychologists agree on it. The reason they evolved to keep us safe is our ancestors 20,000 years ago lived in the wild. We were constantly groups of 20 to 30 surrounded by danger. Every day, either we were facing starvation or we were facing a predator that was going to eat us, right? All of us are lucky descendants of people, our great, 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 great grandparents whose fight, flight, freeze, whose pathways to predict danger was better tuned than the others. So they could either eat the tiger if there was enough of us or run away and not get eaten. That's the property of the brain that we have inherited. Natural selection, Darwinism, right? We are lucky to have that. Now, the downside of that is, look at our world today. How many tigers do we see every day? Not many, right? But what we do face is threats every day that we constantly are experiencing whether we like it or not. You wake up in the morning, you get a news alert. How much of the news is positive versus negative?
I'd be curious about the statistic. I'm guessing like 85% negative.
Yeah. Most of it is negative, right? Because who likes good news, right? If you look at Instagram, there was a moment our brain has a competitive, it's very hard to tell people not to compare to others because our brain is constantly making sense of me versus the other. Mm-hmm. Earlier, we compared ourselves to our neighbor. Today, we compare ourselves to somebody sitting on the other end just because they're giving a perfectly curated Instagram picture of what they're going through. We have so much information all the time. Our neural pathways, our brains that have no way of separating psychological threats from physical threats react in exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. Now, with COVID, what happened, and which is what I was looking into, was like I knew that the base state of people navigating this world was out of this fear, and these circuits were getting more and more hardwired. But now we actually had a real physical threat, right? Go back to March 2020. We didn't know if we were going to make it or not. We were afraid of each other. If you sneezed, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, right? If somebody dropped something. So the whole humanity was kind of enveloped in this place where we were really, really afraid. And so I knew that these circuits would get even more triggered. And that's why I wrote the book. So the book I wrote was actually called From Fear to Freedom, a journey from within to live your best life. Once my editor got a hold of it, she said, you know, what you've written is a book on happiness. You haven't written a book on fear. And she wanted me to change the name, so we did, to Hardwired for Happiness. Mm-hmm. But that's what the book became. And I decided post that book to actually launch Happiness Squad. Because what I also realized, Daniel, is our problem today is not knowledge. If you ask people today, what percentage do you think will say meditation is good for you? How many know the powers of meditation?
I would guess more than 85%.
What percentage practice?
I would guess, I don't know, 8. I'm not sure.
Yeah, something like that. So I really, with Happiness Squad, wanted to create offerings that would allow people to go from knowing to doing and from doing to being. That was the heart of the work we wanted to do. And we wanted to do it in places where people are always together, because there is power in community, right? Where do we find community every day?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Where
Most
do-
people, where do we find community?
Oh, man. I don't know about most people. That's a good question. I find my community, my family and friends.
Yeah. Family and friends is a place where we find community.
Mhm.
But guess where we spend most of our waking hours? At work. We don't consider that community, but you are with other human beings at work most of the time. Those who work, right? Those who have their working for jobs. So I said, what if we actually took intact teams through a program which is grounded in the science of habit formation, where they could practice together, where they could practice at work, not outside of work. So instead of taking somebody and saying, let's go do a 4-day retreat, where let's take you to Crestone and you're going to meditate and you're going to experience all this thing, and I want to drop you back into your day-to-day life. And, most people within 4 weeks or 8 weeks, now I'm going to go do Crestone again at some point, but I'm not actually practicing. Say, what if we actually help people practice where they work, and let's build habits 1 month at a time. Couple of habits, couple of rungs of the ladder, so that over a year, you start to experience the world differently. Not because the world's changed, but because you've changed.
Mm-hmm.
And we support each other, we hold each other accountable, and we integrate this into how we show up and work every day. That was the origin story for Happiness Squad. It was fundamentally about working with corporate clients to help them stop doing wellness as a benefit and start doing happiness and flourishing as a strategy, where we just didn't want to give resources to people and say, whether you want to use it or not, it's up to you. We wanted to say, no, we want to actually run a program that creates connection, that creates community. And together, we want to be at our best. Because if we are at our best, if we are more adaptable, we are more resilient, guess what the organization is? More adaptable and resilient. Right?
Are y'all doing this right now? Like
We
you're
are.
working with different varieties of companies implementing these strategies?
So we have run these programs 3 years in with teams at Pepsi, at Danone, with a startup called Radical. We've done this work with, we're doing this work with USA Ski and Snowboard. We've done this work with Leeds Business School. We've done this work with the city of Fort Collins. We're doing this work with a bank right now called MUFG. We're just starting this work with the Denver office of McKinsey. And we're on our way.
So I'm imagining as y'all's team for the Happiness Squad is like a group of people that are coming together every day to practice being happy so that they could teach others how to do that. Is that what y'all literally did?
Yeah. So the way we run our programs, we run 1 hour a month. We have whole intact teams of 30, 50, 60 people come together. We check in with how people are doing. Quite a novel concept for corporate.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to check in on how you're doing. We're going to put people to break out and say, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
Not how's your work and what the target is. No, but genuinely, I'm curious. How are you? What have you been practicing? So we're going to check in with each other. We're going to then introduce 1 or 2 micro practices and the science behind them, the neuroscience behind them, and why they make a difference. So we're going to teach that over 30 minutes. We're going to get people to practice, and we're going to leave with some commitments we're making to each other of how we're going to try those. And that's what we do over the next 30 days. We send weekly emails, daily nudges, and have these groups that meet together once, at least every other week, to check with each other.
Wow.
And just like that, over a period of time, like within 4 to 6 months, when we've run these programs, collectively teams have shown on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being significant improvement, 3 being somewhat improvement, 1 and 2 being not much improvement. Consistently, we see 40% of people reporting significant improvements in their ability to manage stress, hope for the future, connection with each other, productivity, resilient, and another 40% at moderate. So we're able to move the needle. We, in effect, teach people how to be happier, be more resilient, again, by working on what they can control, the only thing they can control, 100%, which is their inner world. What I practice and how I experience. That's the only thing we control. We have zero shot at controlling the external world. And so that's what we work with people on, is learn to master your inner world. We take out all of the spirituality out of it. We don't need to talk about it because they're all different layers. If you want to be, we can show you all the spiritual. These are all practices that are in our wisdom traditions. But we stand on the 2 pillars of psychology and neurosciences, because most people in the corporate, engineers, finance, they can relate to that. And the beauty is, once, regardless of the doorway through which you enter and why you practice, once you rewire your brain away from fear, what remains? Love, joy, peace. So you'll get there on your own. We don't need to kind of go there and say, that's because this person said so, this person said so. We just say, hey, go experience. Every day, once a week, write down 3 things you're grateful for 8 weeks. And notice what changes in 8 weeks in how you experience the world. If something changes, great. If something not, no worries, but try it. Because if you're like thousands of others who have actually done this in controlled settings, 30% improvement in depression symptoms, 30% improvement in anxiety, significant improvement in positive emotions. That's what thousands have experienced. Maybe you'll be the anomaly, but go try it.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with so many different things. I have a book called Breaking Normal. It sounds
Yeah.
like we've scratched at similar
Yes.
realizations. One being the attitude of gratitude. Like, I've thought about this quite a bit, and having a daughter, and if anyone has kids, or just if you have a pet or anyone, I just believe if someone is not grateful for what they currently have, why would they deserve anything else?
Absolutely.
Anything more? And it's like, so if my daughter, imagine if I was I have a ritual for my daughter of getting her a gift or a surprise adventure once a week. If she is just bitter about that experience, why would it get any better? It's not going to
Yes.
inspire me. It's not going to inspire her. So I this attitude of gratitude thing just seems to be where true wealth comes from. And I find that correlation when you're talking about how many billionaires or how many executives feel so empty. I thought about that as well, that there are so many people that are envious of people that have more money. Like, oh, they have millions. If I had that, this is what I would do. But the fact of the matter is, most of those people with all that money, as far as I can see it, if they're not healthy, they would trade places with any poor person.
Yeah.
For their health.
Well, I mean, here's what happens to them, and here's what happens to everyone. And why I think, and I think about all of this work, I think we have to do it from a place of deep compassion rather than judgment. Our brains evolved to have a negativity bias. Our brains evolved, right? There's a process called hedonic adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Hedonic adaptation is actually a crucial property of the brain, Daniel. hedonic adaptation is what makes us, quote unquote, ungrateful. Once I get something, it has less utility for me. Right? So you might say, wow, that's a terrible property. Right? Like, why would you, like, why is that good? Well, first of all, it keeps you striving for more.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop, go back to 20,000 years ago. You stopped and got comfortable where I am. Guess what happened? Food would run out. You'd put your guard down. You'd get eaten. So no, you got it. Okay, great. What's next? But there's something else. Hedonic adaptation is also why when you look at people who've lost a lot, they're able to go back to their base state of how they experience the world. You lose a child. Hedonic adaptation is the gift that allows you to move forward versus get stuck in that extreme sadness that can come from losing a child. You lose a limb. You lose a job. You lose a relationship. Time heals, right? This concept, how does time heal? It's hedonic adaptation. We go back to our base state. The good news, 50% of how we experience the world, positive or negative, is genetic. So you're going to go back to that base state. 10% is circumstantial. The rest, 40%, is habits. So let hedonic adaptation do the work for you. But if you build habits, gratitude works because you are building your neural pathways away from how you've evolved, which is scarcity, to abundance. You're learning to see and stand on all that you have. That's why it works, right? Meditation and breath work, meditation works because it shrinks our amygdala. It shrinks the core organ that starts our fight, flight, freeze to reactions from the other. That's why people who meditate a lot, like monks, have almost a zero startle response. Like you can do a huge symbol right next to the ear and there is no response in the brain. That's because, again, the reactivity is down to so low, right? But we have to practice. We have to practice. It doesn't come naturally. The millionaires struggle with it so much, and billionaires, because, there is something else, property of the brain. We have a high aversion to loss. So nobody likes to play a fair game. A 50% chance of losing, 50% chance of winning $1. Would you play? Most people will say no. 20% chance of losing, 80% chance of winning. Some of them will even then not play. We have a heavy aversion to loss. When you have 100 million, you're more worried about losing that 100 million. Even a 1% move in 100 million is $1 million. It's a big number. If you only have 100,000, 1% is 1,000. Maybe you won't think that much about it. And that's why so many people, they have so much, but you know what they don't have? Time. Because they're so busy trying to plan and control, all the things that will take things away. But in that moment, they miss that. They don't have the currency of time. And many of them end up sacrificing health for wealth. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the crazy irony? Then you spend all your wealth trying to buy back health, except you can't.
Yeah, this does seem to be a pattern a lot of people are facing. And I guess, I trust that everyone listening, ourselves, would never have to face. You said 10% to get that. What was it called?
10% is life circumstances.
Yeah, those 10%. I trust we don't have to, anyone listening doesn't have to deal with those to experience this reset. I pray that for us. And do you think it's possible certain people are attracting those on some conscious or subconscious level, like tragic things, to get their life back in check?
Well, I think it's funny, right? Even though the research shows only 10% is life circumstance, that's not how we live life. What's the most common? Ask people, are you happy? No, I'll be happy when. So we put so much more energy on the circumstances and controlling the circumstances and getting to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, right? We live as if 40, 50% of our happiness is based on out there, getting something. Money, relationships, events happening our way. So it's a myth that we live into. I always joke, I heard this from someone that related to me, right? If aliens came and looked at us, I don't think they would call us human beings. Because they would call us human doings. Because we're always doing. We're always doing something. Again, to not be bored, to be happy. And yeah, no, I was lucky, Daniel. I really consider myself lucky that I didn't have to go through loss of a relationship, loss of health, getting fired, or any other crazy thing to wake up. What woke me up was a fundamental disconnect. The disconnect between what I was doing every day versus what I was here to do. In yogic language, there are two words: karma, which is what you do, and dharma, which is, what are you here for? When those two have a disconnect, I experience that in terms of anxiety, right? Once I align those two, all I experience is joy. So that's how it manifested for me. But for many people, I think they have to get to that breaking point that they wake up, right? Because we do get woken up at some point in our life, whether we like it or not. And sometimes it's like a gentle, shake, and sometimes it's a big hit. And then people start to kind of think about, what is life about? What am I here to do? I just hope with this work with Happiness Squad and what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do is get people to experience that a lot earlier and actually almost create that transformational experience that wakes us to a different way of navigating the world, right? Because if we do that, not only do we help that person make the most out of his life or her life, but through them, we affect so many others. Because guess who else is living in the shadow of stress and anxiety and unhappiness and, gritting our way in frustration and anger and all the people around us, right? So that's it. Like, I want to change the world. I want to help 1 billion people thrive. And so I'm starting with helping each individual take the first step. Right? Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I'm helping more people be the change they want to see in the world and stop fighting to change the world.
I find the happiness it's just a huge word. Like your original working title was From Fear to Freedom. And then it became
Hardwired for Happiness.
Hardwired for Happiness. So happiness, so many people, I almost feel like it's an idol. And I'm almost like wanting to get to the nitty gritty of what you define happiness or what is happiness. Because I almost think happiness is more of a side effect. It's not like something someone can be.
Yeah. So happiness is an emotion, or let me put it this way, is also an emotion. But happiness can also be a way of being. The way we talk about that is joy versus joyfulness, right? So today, how do we get happy? If you just look at the science of happiness, like emotionally, emotions are what? Energies in motion. Emotions rise when something happens that we care about the way we want or not. If it goes the way we want, we experience the positive emotions, excitement, pride, all of those things. When they don't go the way we want, what do we experience? Anger, frustration, shame, anxiety, sadness. So those will come and go. But what we are really talking about is taking us back to a state of fundamental joyfulness, bliss, peace. How old is your daughter?
8.
8. Think about, go back, Danielle, to when she was 3 or 4. What's her name?
Davina.
Davina. Did you have to tell Davina to be mindful or present?
No.
What did she like playing with?
Everything. She seems a little engineer minded. She likes to put things together,
Right.
see where water flows. Like, look, when you put this
Right,
here, the
and
water goes that way.
Just in it. How long was she immersed in it?
It was probably until she got hungry.
Right? Hours.
Yeah.
Did you have to teach Davina to be happy?
No.
Right? Most kids don't, they're fundamentally in that state of joyfulness. They giggle, they laugh. Something needs to happen to make them unhappy, right? I fall down, I'm hungry, I wet myself, I got scared, somebody shouted or something happened and I got scared. So something needs to happen to take them out of that state, right? And now think about most adults. If you ask them, how are you? Do they say, I'm happy? No, what do they say? What's the most common thing people say?
I so rarely ask that question. I usually ask something different, but how are you? Doing good. That's what
Doing
people
good.
say.
In England, they say, not too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, I'm busy. Okay. So somewhere along our growth curve, we stop being joyful and start chasing joy, start chasing happiness. Because we start going to happiness as an emotion, wanting things to be a certain way, getting things so that we can, right? Or like promotions, money, relationships, cars, iPhones, take, choose your whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this work, fundamentally what we are trying to do, and it happens because of our brains, right? Our brain patterns start to get activated because the moment kids go into any socialized environment, there was a stat that I'm going to completely mess up, but I think the number of questions kids ask, Davina asked you a bunch of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and you track how many questions she asked, track it as she goes through school and notice how fast that's going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 3-4x drop in curiosity because we beat that out of our kids. We beat curiosity out of our kids. We start helping them experiencing themselves not as whole in this magical world where everybody likes me and I like everybody, to you're like me and you're not like me and you're like this and oh, look at this. All of those things, our brains, evolutionary pathways start to fire. And we go back to that state where we start experiencing the world as not safe. And as a result, we lose joyfulness. If you go through something that really affects you, sometimes you'll pick up armors to not let the bad in. But guess what? That doesn't also let the good out. And so for many people, it's a journey back home to the base state, which we all have, we are born with, which is that of joy and bliss and kindness and compassion. And by the way, it's not just humans. Sentient beings are compassionate. Trees are compassionate. Animals are compassionate. We just, because of our brilliant brain that is a gift, just lose that because we constantly start trying to survive. We become prisoners of our own minds. The keys are in our pockets, and yet we stay caged.
So I wish I had my book here. The cover. Have you seen the cover of my book?
No.
It's a guy that's in a self-imposed prison, and it's Pinocchio. It's like a Pinocchio, and the key to the freedom is his nose.
Yes.
That's outside.
Yes.
Cage.
Yes. Exactly.
And the subtitle is "Rewild Your Inner Child and Set the Truth Free." Here's an idea that I don't know if this is part of your strategies, but something inspired me to think about doing this, is to finding videos, home videos of when I was like 3 years or younger. Is this something?
Yes. And see how you were.
Yeah.
And see how you are.
That seems like a pretty good idea.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Go watch yourself.
That sounds like
Go
a trip.
watch your children. Yeah. And you realize, oh my God, where did I lose myself? It's a journey back to who you are.
You mentioned the tree recently, and before the podcast began, you said you do most of your office
I do a lot of
work.
my work. Yeah. It's just literally, it's a 130-year-old tree. That's what we determine. It's a fir tree.
A fir, F-I-R?
F-I-R.
Okay.
Right. It's like a fir or a spruce, one of those trees. And, we moved to Boulder 10, 11 years ago. And before that, I was in all the big cities. I was in Chicago. Before that, I was in Bombay, Mumbai in India. Before that, I was in Delhi. We live in concrete jungles with so much going on. And part of the work we do, the way we live, I was looking at this research when I was at McKinsey. Almost 70-80% of people in workplaces are constantly on adrenaline and cortisol, sympathetic nervous systems, right? Guess what's not 70 to 80% of the time on sympathetic nervous systems, high frequencies, nature. So when you sit, when you're with, that's why forest bathing is a real thing. Now, when I work next to this tree, I have another maple tree. We have several trees. We have a catalpa. We have lots of trees around. But in particular,
those are the heart-shaped flowers, the catalpa.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are even native to here, but they sure are beautiful.
But when I work there, what I've noticed is my nervous system is just at such a lower level of activation, right? Like right by the tree, we have a bird feeder. So there are always, different birds eating there. We have bunnies that come in and out. We have squirrels that come in and out. There is so much happening that keep you grounded in reality the way it is, rather than the way we are kind of trying to experience it, right? When we're closed, we forget of everything else around, and they stop having that effect on us. So I think the tree had a lot to do with it. Tree has had a lot to do with just lower. Every morning, other than the winters, all spring, summer, fall, I wake up, I have my tea sitting outside and watch the birds eat. I'll read something. Every evening I sit out. Many of the times during the day, I'll sit and do my calls under the tree.
One of my main offices is Ebon-G Fine Park.
Nice.
Have you been?
I have not been there. But
You have not been to Ebon-G Fine Park?
No.
It's right there. It's like right a mile west of us. You got to go. It holds a vibe. It holds a vibe that is my favorite vibe in Boulder.
I would love to go. Maybe I go with you.
Let's do it. But it's surrounded by these huge old trees.
Yes.
And I don't know if many people make the correlation. But so many people are kind of in awe. Why is Ebon-G so cool? What's the vibe? I'm thinking, do you see these trees standing here for us, around us? They're creating a field.
Yes.
Around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only are they creating a field, but just, the phytochemicals that they release. They have amazing properties on improving our immune systems. This is something we forget. Think about our nervous system. Think about our respiratory system. Where's your respiratory system? Where would you say? What's your respiratory?
My respiratory system, I feel like it's my body. It's from my skin, but most through my lungs and nose, right? And trachea.
Where are they? They're here, right?
Yeah. But I think I'm getting oxygen everywhere in a way.
What do lungs do?
they I guess they get the oxygen from the air into my bloodstream.
Yeah. And they let the
carbon
carbon dioxide out.
Yeah.
What do trees do?
It's not, I think the same thing, right? Or the,
They take the carbon
the
dioxide
opposite.
in
It's like
and
a
they
synergy.
give out the oxygen. So by some definition, isn't it true that half of your respiratory system is hanging outside of you?
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't survive without that. That's why the Amazons are called the lungs of the planet. And I think part of being with these creatures that have been here for thousands of years and they just operate at a completely different rhythm is they have that effect on us. They calm our nervous systems down. The vibrational frequencies are so much lower. And that has a massive effect, again, on how we experience the world.
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't change, but our experience of it fundamentally changes.
I'm immediately thinking of the redwoods and what a different vibe that is.
Oh my God, I was there a year and a half ago.
That's even
And
different.
just sitting there and walking amongst these trees that were so old, thousands of years, some of them, and what they have seen, right? I mean, they remind you of how small we are, both in size and the duration of our time on this earth, and how insignificant. And yet, for most people, they think they are the most significant person.
Yeah, they are a good reminder of that. They're like the ultimate antennas too, man.
They're amazing. Like redwoods. I mean, I love. Just, I think it's magical.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are 47 minutes in, it looks like. Is that right? Good. My vision might be getting sharper somehow. I come sometimes with like 10 popcorn questions.
Sounds
They're meant
great.
to be like answered in a minute.
Okay.
Do you want to give those a go?
Let's do it.
Do you have any questions for me or anything you want to make sure that we like? Oh, I do have one before I go to the preloaded one. Deja vu. There was a point probably around like minute 14 or so. I was like having serious deja vu. What do you think deja vu is?
What do you think deja vu is?
What do I think deja vu is?
I think deja vu. Look, I think
I'm the one. I think questions are the answers, but I'll be curious to see you navigate this one. And I could try to afterwards if you don't bias me too much.
Well, I think for me, deja vu, the universe has a way of things happening the way they are. And sometimes, we experience time as linear, right? Something happens and then we know. But you can believe this, right? Like, depends on what the belief systems are. But if you think about things happening the way they're meant to, our brains and our spirits are not linear. And so we can experience sometimes, or we can experience something and re-experience it, even though it's the first time around. So to me, that is what deja vu is. It is something we have a deep knowing that now we see happen. And we say, oh, but I knew this. I've seen this. That's how I describe deja vu. How do you describe deja vu?
I like that one. It seems to be like a cosmic wink, almost like a reminder that I might be playing hide and seek. So if this is like the video game of life, it's I don't play many video games, but I'm imagining this is how it works like in video games. It's like, this is the video game of life. This is like you unlocked something. You unlocked a memory beyond time and space.
Wait, this is the knowing, right? Like, I haven't explicitly, but I've known this. Like, wait. Yeah. What was that for you? What unlocked for you?
You mean?
Yeah. At 14 minutes.
Oh, I think when you were talking about, there was something that you were about, like making the outer circumstances what most people base how they feel inside, and how we evolved to be this way. I might be biased because I hosted a lot of health retreats about losing your mind and coming to your senses. So more amplifying your sensations,
Absolutely.
just becoming aware of your stories and telling them for fun, making the stories fun, whatever stories you have there, they are made up.
Totally.
But what's maybe most real is our sensations, like my heart beating, my throat getting opener or closed, my stomach feeling more open or closed.
Yep.
And just to work with amplifying whatever the sensation is and letting go of the story. So I think a lot of people are afraid to feel sad because they have the story about being sad. But a lot of times it might just mean a lot of tears, or it might mean like a shaky voice, or it might be like a lot of sweat and this kind of like crazy sensory experience. And so there was a chance when you were talking about all those things, it was bringing me back to all the memories of the retreats. However, it doesn't mean that we haven't had this conversation before in some way. And maybe that's what it is. It's like, oh yeah, y'all talked about this before.
Yeah. Exactly.
In some ways, whether it's like a soulful connection or a collective consciousness, or it's beyond words for me.
People ask me sometimes, do you believe in afterlife? Do you believe in lives after lives? And I said, look, I don't know, because I haven't died yet. And I don't remember my prior life. Could they be? Yes. But I do think there is something magical about that notion that we walked in each other's lives, right? That we've kind of navigated these pathways, that insights that you've written about in your book, that I've written about, are not just insights, but maybe they're echoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're echoes of conversations, echoes of, like times past that they surface, and they just happen to surface with you, with me. But they're just echoes, and we're just transmitters of walking, guiding people towards the truth.
So if someone looks at ideas as living entities, that's one way to look at what may have happened, is that maybe there's been certain ideas that have lived through us, and now that we're meeting, it's like those ideas are meeting, and that's me. When those ideas meet, then Daniel gets to experience deja vu.
Yes. Yeah. Ideas, energies, experiences, right? We are thinking, feeling beings. And I go back to beings, the spirit. There are words that we say, that we hear. There are feelings somatically that we might experience, energy fields that we give out. And there is the deeper knowing parts of us.
Also makes me wonder, for the children under 3 years old, how often was I experiencing deja vu? Maybe my life was deja vu. And then now I'm remembering what it's like to be 3, like in certain moments, but I call deja vu. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. No, I think this is one of those Alice in Wonderland that, that you can go down it goes deep in where you go. But I always, I actually come back to, through all of my practices, I try and stand on the ground of what I experience. I always say the only experience, the only truth that I invite people to hold on to is what you experience. Otherwise, it's just buying into one belief versus another. But what you experience in your body, and I'd love to learn more about these retreats. The only experience that is real is what your lived experience is. Not the story around it, but what's real. How you experience it. What are you experiencing? Right? That is the only reality. So I was lucky, as I was mentioning earlier, I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat, silent meditation. And that really integrated for me, Danielle, 10 years of reading, knowing about these concepts of permanence and equanimity and all of that became interbeing. Like these were all words before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are, you and me, we're fundamentally, the one, like we're connected. But on my 7th, 8th, and 9th day in that meditation, I experienced impermanence within me. I could experience my body both as solid and as a wave. I experienced that constant pull between aversion and craving, and recognizing that if you just stand in the middle, both of them go away. They come back, but they go away without actually you needing to do anything. And once you experience that, I could experience, right, this unitive field. Once you experience that, it's a little bit like once somebody takes you and shows you the stars, and the stars are amazing, and then somebody points the constellations. The first time, go back to the first time somebody showed you the constellations. The Taurus, the Sagittarius, the Capricorn. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That was a little bit of that experience for me.
Yeah, I've never met anyone that has done one of those and have not profoundly changed their life in seemingly a better way.
Yeah, they're magical. And the best part about that whole retreat, 10 days, they're free. You don't pay anything for it. They house you, feed you. And the second best part, they tell you, don't believe anything that the teacher tells you or that the Buddha said. The only thing you need to believe is your own experience, because your experience will be very different than everybody else's experience, and that is the only truth. It was genuinely just completely transformative for me. I've never seen things that clearly in my whole life. Your brain just gets 46 years of like, and then you get to that stillness and you see. It changed me.
Yeah, wow, the paradox of like speaking to get to truths versus like how potentially every word is a lie. I ain't come up with these words. I'm using words that were created before me.
Yes, always.
So how limiting would it be to think that all these words can give me exactly what my soul desires?
Yeah.
I think they're helpful though, and they're fun.
Yeah. As long as we can hold them at a distance and be playful with it rather than believe them as the truth. Right?
Yeah.
If we hold them as a truth, life is good. If we hold them as the truth, well, battles are fought on that.
All right. You want to play with words for 10
minutes?
Let's
do it.
All right. 10 popcorn questions. Appreciate you. What's the best way for people to follow or get in touch?
Yeah. Well, they can follow me on LinkedIn,
Okay.
Ashish Kothari. We also have a Happiness Squad page, but we're also on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
My Happiness Squad would be the best place to go.
All right. We'll make sure to include some of those links there in the description of the show. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Number one, you say our brains evolved for survival, not happiness. What's the simplest way to rewire them back towards joy?
Every night before you go to bed, write down 3 positive things that happened today.
With
That's
a pen,
it.
not
With
on
a pen.
Just write it down on paper.
3 good things that happened today.
Okay. Before you go to bed.
Before you go to 5 minutes before you go to bed.
I like it. That's a pretty simple task.
Very simple. What are 3 good things that happened today? That's all you have to do.
I feel happier just thinking about doing that.
Here's what's happening when you do that. What happens when you sleep?
I think that's kind of like where the programs integrate. The programs
right.
of the day integrated.
Short term goes into the long term. So you're seeding your brain with 3 positive thoughts. Remember, our brain has a negativity bias. Every day, 3 small things compound over time. When you sleep, your neural pathways shift. Your memory reserves, instead of storing all the things that you didn't do and how you screwed up that day, you're seeding it with, here's the 3 good things that happened. Here's what I achieved today.
Oh man, I love the potency of the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
Do you recommend a certain book? Does it matter? Anywhere on the wall, mirror, whatever?
Get a journal, get a piece of paper, get a notepad. What is important is we write it down.
Okay.
And we think about what made it so, right? Just what did you gain today? What did you achieve today? Simple.
I love that one. I love simple. Simple. All right, number 2. You climbed every mountain of success. Why did it still feel empty at the top?
Because of the if-then fallacy. And fundamentally, the mountain I was climbing was not my mountain to climb. Right? I often tell kids, younger kids, I speak at CU all the time. They're like, does that mean that we shouldn't work? Everybody tells us we shouldn't work so hard. I'm like, no, you should work your ass off. Just make sure you're climbing the mountain you're meant to.
I've heard that phrase in another way, that so many people spend all their time climbing up a ladder to find it was leaning against the wrong wall.
That's it. Yeah, go find. And you might not know it, but that's okay. Just be curious, right? Don't be in a just a rinse, repeat cycle. It's okay. It took me till 44 to find my right wall. That's okay.
All right. In a world obsessed with doing more, how do we remember how to just be?
Yeah. That is through these practices that we rewire. We will always want to do more. That's how our brains are wired. So we have to start with awareness, recognizing that's where the brain is. And remember, only 10% is circumstantial. Instead, be more intentional about the 40%. Practicing things that actually change our neural pathways. If we do that, we can be more. And one of the powerful practices you mentioned, breath work is an important one for you. Mindfulness is a powerful one. If you want to be more, practice mindfulness. Being with whatever you're doing. Whether formal meditation or not, just be more present.
It's reminding me of something I did the other day. I'm curious what you think about this. And I do variations of this, and he's somewhat familiar. I went to the sauna, and it was 230 degrees, which they usually like air it out. But I'm like, for some reason, I felt like I'm going to stay in here for 15 minutes. And the reason I want to explain this to you is I was not happy.
Yeah.
For those 15 minutes. I wouldn't describe it as happy. I would describe it more as like a chosen safe suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering well, as you might put it. And then I went to the creek that was at 30-something degrees. I run down there. I wouldn't describe it as I was happy. I would describe it as I was exhilarated. My breath was taken away. I was borderline out of my mind. I was just feeling so many sensations. But then, now for the next hour to 2 hours, I would say I was pretty happy. Like that's a pretty happy
because you
state
activated a set of chemicals in your body through that. Right? Yeah.
And I think it's important to note, like how you said, the fallacy of chasing happiness. I wasn't, it's like to get to that state, I did nothing that made me happy. It was more like, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't happy. It just wasn't what I would describe as happy. It was like strategic suffering.
Yes. Yeah. The moment we accept life has suffering and not fight it, everything changes. Right? The only time you don't have suffering is when you're dead.
That's a good thought. Good thing for us to consider, I think.
Right? It would be quite a dictatorial way of living, right? Think about if there's 2 people in a relationship. For you to be happy, everything has to go the way you want. But if everything goes the way you want, where is there space for me? Mm-hmm. So even if it's a 90-10, at least 10% of the time, you're not going to be happy. Mm-hmm. Right? If it's a 50-50, I think it's a very healthy relationship. Right? But that's the reality, right? So we just got to go with it. Accept it.
All right. Glow with the flow. What's the difference between comfort and peace?
Comfort is just a recipe for disturbance of your peace in the future. Comfort means there is no growth. I'm just comfortable. I am just fixed. But guess what's not fixed? Everything else. So if I'm fixed and everything else is changing, what's happening? I was comfortable when things were like this, but now the distance is becoming more and more and more. At some point, it's going to snap. And what's going to happen then? No peace.
Like it. Thanks for doing these with me. These are fun. You teach that happiness is a skill. What's one daily micro habit anyone can start right now to retrain their brain?
Yeah. I'll give you another very simple one, right? Meditation is a really powerful one, but most people will say, great. One more person telling me to meditate. So I'm like, no, here's a very simple micro practice. Super simple. Choose one activity an hour, whatever, every hour, whatever you're doing, just choose one activity and really be present with it.
One activity,
anything you're doing. We do hundreds of activities every hour, but just choose one. So like maybe you're going to have a cup, maybe you're going to eat.
Oh, one activity every hour you're awake.
Yeah.
Just to do something you're very present with, no matter how long
and
it
you
takes.
don't even have to change anything. Just choose one thing. Hey, I'm about to go into a meeting. I'm just going to be present. I'm going to have a piece of fruit. I'm literally going to be present with this fruit. I'm going to see it. I'm going to taste it. I'm not going to be thinking about something else when I'm tasting. I'm really going to taste. What does it taste like? What's the juice? What does that feel like? What does the taste feel like? What is the texture as I chew into it? If I'm going to have a cup of coffee, smell it. See the glass. Simple practice. 5 minutes every hour. Just one thing you're doing. Just even 1 minute. Just create a space to let yourself just be present. And just see how the life's experience changes.
I like that. Thank you. What was your sacred breakdown moment? When did the mask of success finally crack?
Well, I think it was not one moment, but it was so many moments. Waking up every morning, Daniel, with your knees up to your throat, with bile every morning, feeling like no matter how you went to sleep, there were like over 18 months of daily moments where you're like, what is going on? Right? Works through success pretty quickly. Or the comfort.
All right. You call compassion fuel, but in a cutthroat corporate world, how do we lead with kindness without being crushed?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of people think about compassion as just giving, right? Compassion is keeping ourselves open. So there's all this beautiful research by Adam Grant, give and take. In a corporate world, it's not just the givers. Givers, actually, the research shows givers don't necessarily do that well. Takers also don't do that well. Guess who does well? The matchers. Give and take. So we have a choice how we show up. And I would say that in a world today, Daniel, at work, where only 20% of people are thriving, 60% are stressed, and 22% are burnt out, how you're going to show up is going to send an energy field to how others are going to receive and how they're going to show up and act. And I think showing up with compassion, showing up with a genuine care for the other. I'm not just interested in what you do for me, but who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If I lead you, I want to make your time that you're giving to me to become a way for you to grow into the best life that you want for yourself. I think if we lead with that, I think we create a reciprocal response back. Compassion is not lying down on the ground and just saying, do what you would with me. And that's how we actually make sure that we're not taken advantage of.
My friend Brandon Hawk he used to be part of our retreats, and he would tell people, when you give beyond your capacity, you make the receiver a thief.
Yes.
So that one I remember. That's
I
one
think
of the
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta give from that full cup. Whew, all right. If fear is the virus of our time, what's the real immunity?
If fear is the virus, what's the real bit joy is? Practices. Fear disappears the moment you realize that it's a creation of our own mind. What is fear? One of the definitions that I love is false expectation appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you've heard of that.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Right? So we're just projecting something about what will happen in the future. Stop projecting. Or project, decide on the course of action, and stop letting your brain keep play that cycle over and over again.
Yeah, Rasta. You left McKinsey to start the Happiness Squad. What does the word happiness mean to you now after all that?
Well, happiness is something that ensues from living a virtuous life, a life which is filled with meaning. So what you do every day has meaning. You do it with others you care about, relationships. So you actively cultivate relationships that are nourishing, nurturing. You nurture them, they nurture you. It's built on a foundation of well-being. It's very hard to be happy if you're struggling physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And last, it's built on a foundation when we train our brain to walk the middle way, to be equanimous. We don't let our joy be driven by the craving and aversion cycle that we find ourselves in. We can accept whatever's happening and live in active surrender, accepting what's happening, but also actively thinking about how to go towards what we want, how to learn from it, how to take the next step. But accepting, genuine acceptance, not asking, why is this happening to me?
Awesome.
I think if you do those four things, meaning, relationships, health, well-being, and equanimity.
Strong foundation.
Happiness ensues.
All right. And finally, if your son asked, Dad, what's the purpose of life? How would you answer him in this sentence?
I think I would answer him the way Viktor Frankl talks about it. It's not life. You can't ask life what the purpose of life is. Life asks you. So it's about making meaning. It's about how you give meaning to what you're doing. It has an orientation of service, how you want to leave the world better. It's an orientation to tune into your strengths, what you do really well, so you can continue investing in those so you can be of utmost service to the world. And it's orienting it around things you love. So the service you're doing around the world is not coming as a sacrifice, but you're actually enjoying the work, right? I could never be Mother Teresa. That is not something that would bring me a lot of joy. So I find other ways of serving the world, which are more attuned to my strengths, to what I love. So it's about finding those. I think that's how we find meaning in life.
Well, thank you for walking the talk, holding that smile back enough to answer some of these questions, and moving from fear to freedom, and tell us the name of your book one more time.
Hardwired for Happiness.
Check it out. This guy's living it. Keep breaking normal, y'all. Thank you for your time today. We broke normal. We went past 111. And I think right when we did, a gong went off on your phone.
There we go.
How did that know? Did you time that?
No, there was no time. That was a phone coming in.
Oh, it's like they called us literally at 111. I told you that was my field goal. I broke it. Sorry, whoever that was. Not really. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Such a great conversation. I loved it.
Thank y'all.
I can't wait to read your book.
Oh yeah, it's on Audible.
Okay.
I can send you the link. You want to
Please
listen?
do.
Okay, I love the audiobook. I spoke it, so
awesome.
And that's how I take most books. Is lately is listening to them, going on a hike, getting a massage, just getting that message massaged into my muscles beyond my mind.
Love it.
All right, y'all keep breaking normal. Thank you.